The 12 Labors of Hercules, Part 5. The Augean Stables welcome back. Tonight we return once more to the story of Hercules, the greatest of all Greek heroes, as he continues his 12 labors of atonement. In our previous tales we witnessed his triumph over the Nemean lion, the many-headed hydra, the swift Ceryneian hind, and the fearsome Erymanthian boar. Each task seemed impossible. Each task was conquered. Tonight we turn to the fifth labor, a challenge unlike any that came before. Tonight we enter the stables of King Augeas. But let us begin not in those stables, but on the road that leads to them. Picture Hercules as he walks through the countryside of Elis, that fertile region in the western Peloponnese where the earth is rich and the herds are vast beyond counting. The hero travels alone, as is his custom. The morning sun climbs slowly above the hills. Dew still clings to the grass. The air smells of wildflowers and distant rain. Hercules has learned by now that his cousin Eurystheus will never choose a labor that brings glory alone. There will be some twist, some element meant to humiliate or exhaust him. The lion brought terror. The hydra brought poison. The hind brought endless pursuit. The boar brought the frozen mountain. And now this fifth task, delivered by the king's messenger just days ago, seems almost laughable in its simplicity. Clean the stables of King Augeas. Nothing more, just clean the stables. Yet Hercules is not a fool. He knows Eurystheus. He knows there will be more to this than appears. As he walks, he thinks back to his arrival at Mycenae after capturing the boar, how Eurystheus had once again cowered in his bronze jar, how the king's voice had echoed from within, announcing this new task. Clean the stables in a single day, the king had said. One day, no more. Hercules had stood silent, waiting for the rest. And then Eurystheus had laughed, that thin, nervous laugh, and explained. King Augeas owns the largest herds in all of Greece, 3,000 cattle, some say. Others claim the number is far greater. These herds have grazed the fields of Elis for 30 years, and in all that time the stables have never been cleaned. Not once. 3 decades of filth, piled high, packed deep, spreading across the floors and yards and pens. The stench alone keeps men away. The task is not dangerous, no, but it is impossible. One man, one day, uncountable tons of waste. Eurystheus had laughed again. This labor is meant to break his spirit, Hercules knows. To reduce the mighty hero to a stable hand, wading through filth, failing publicly, humiliated. But Hercules walks on. His face is calm. His mind is working. He reaches the lands of Augeas by midday. The fields here stretch to the horizon, golden with grain, dotted with cattle that move like slow clouds across the green. He sees the herds in the distance, massive and healthy, their coats shining. The wealth of Augeas is evident everywhere. Fine stone walls line the roads. The farmhouses are large and well kept. This is a kingdom built on abundance. And then the wind shifts and Hercules stops. The smell reaches him long before he sees the stables. It is a wall of stench, thick and almost solid, the accumulated decay of 30 years. His eyes water. He breathes through his mouth and continues forward. Other travelers on the road turn away, covering their faces with their cloaks, but Hercules walks toward it, toward the source. He crests a low hill, and there it is. The stable complex of King Augeas spreads across the valley below like a small city. Dozens of buildings, vast open pens, covered paddocks, all connected by stone walls and wooden fences. And everywhere, the filth. It covers the ground in layers, brown and black and rotting, piled in some places higher than a man's head. Rivers of waste run down the slopes toward the valley floor. The cattle themselves stand in it, unconcerned as they have for decades. No grass grows here. No workers come to shovel or cart away the muck. The task is too great. It has simply been left, year after year, to accumulate. Hercules stands looking down at it for a long moment. Then he descends toward the palace of Augeas. King Augeas is a large man, prosperous and red-faced, dressed in fine robes dyed the deep purple that speaks of wealth. He receives Hercules in a courtyard fragrant with flowers, as far from the stables as the palace design allows. He looks the hero up and down, noting the lion skin cloak, the great club, the breadth of shoulder and thickness of arm. He has heard of Hercules, of course. Everyone has. Hercules explains his task. He has been sent by King Eurystheus to clean the stables in a single day. He asks permission to attempt this labor. Augean listens and then he laughs. It is not a cruel laugh but one of genuine amusement. Clean the stables in a day. The stables that have not been cleaned in 30 years. He waves his hand at the absurdity of it. Impossible, he says. Utterly impossible. No man could do it. No 100 men could do it, but Hercules does not smile. He looks at the king steadily and makes an offer. If I succeed, will you give me payment? 1/10 of your herds, perhaps, as compensation for the work. The king stops laughing. His eyes narrow, calculating. He looks at this strange hero who speaks seriously of the impossible. Augean considers. If by some miracle the stables are actually cleaned, 1/10 of his herds would be a high price. But they will not be cleaned. Not in a day. Not by any man. And yet if he refuses, he looks miserly, afraid of losing a wager he cannot lose. Very well, Augean says. If you clean my stables entirely in one day, I will give you 1/10 of my cattle. But you must finish before sunset tomorrow. Not a speck of filth remaining. Every pen, every building, every yard. Do you accept? Hercules accepts. They shake hands on it. Augean calls for his son Phyleus to witness the agreement, and the young man stands beside them as they swear the oath. Phyleus looks at Hercules with curiosity. He alone seems to sense that there is more to this hero than meets the eye. The king offers hospitality for the night, but Hercules declines. He asks instead for permission to walk the grounds, to examine the stables and the surrounding land. Augean grants it with another smile. Study all you like, his expression says. It will not help you. Hercules spends the afternoon walking, not through the stables themselves, not yet, but around them. He walks the hills above. He traces the course of 2 rivers that run through the region, the Alpheus and the Peneus, both broad and powerful, fed by mountain snows. He studies the slope of the land, the layout of the valley, the position of the stable complex in relation to the rivers. He stands for a long time on a ridge, looking down, thinking. By evening, he knows what he must do. The next morning arrives with clear skies. Word has spread through the region that Hercules, the famous hero, has wagered with King Augean. Crowds begin to gather on the hills surrounding the stables, keeping their distance from the stench but close enough to watch. They expect to see the hero fail. They expect a spectacle of futility. Some bring food and wine, preparing to spend the day watching a legend reduced to shoveling manure. Hercules arrives at dawn. He carries no shovel, no buckets or carts. He carries only his great strength and his mind, which has been working through the night on the problem. He begins at the Alpheus River, a quarter-mile upstream from the stables. Here the river runs strong and deep, cutting through the valley on its way to the sea. Hercules wades into it, feeling the current pull at his legs. He walks to the far bank, then returns to the near side, studying the flow, the depth, the power of the water. Then he begins to dig. With his bare hands and the trunk of a fallen tree used as a lever, Hercules starts to move earth and stone. He digs into the riverbank, creating a channel, a new path for the water. The work is immense. Boulders that would require a team of oxen to shift, he lifts alone. Soil that would take men with shovels hours to move, he scoops by the armful. Sweat pours from him. His muscles strain and flex. But he does not stop. He digs steadily, powerfully, reshaping the land itself. The crowds on the hills begin to murmur. What is he doing? He should be in the stables. He should be cleaning. Instead, he is at the river. Has he given up already? Has he decided to dig himself a grave for his shame? But Hercules continues. He extends the channel, cutting through the earth, angling it down the slope toward the stables. 100 yards, 200. The work would take a crew of men weeks. Hercules does it in hours. His hands bleed. His back aches. He does not pause. By mid-morning, the channel is nearly complete. It runs from the Alpheus River, diverted from the main course, aimed like a spear at the upper end of the stable complex. Hercules moves to the final section, where only a wall of earth holds the river back from his new channel. He positions himself, he braces, and then with a roar of effort he breaks through. The river bursts into the channel with a sound like thunder. Water pours through, white and foaming, rushing down the slope with all the power of the Alpheus behind it. It hits the first of the stables like a battering ram. The force of it is tremendous, unstoppable, a liquid avalanche that sweeps through the buildings and pens. It lifts the accumulated filth of 30 years and carries it along, scouring the stones beneath, washing the walls, flooding through every corner and yard. The cattle, sensing the water coming, have already moved to higher ground, their instincts taking them to safety. The water does not harm them. It rushes past, concerned only with the filth, lifting it, dissolving it, bearing it away down the valley. Hercules is already running to the second river. The Peneus runs parallel to the Alpheus on the far side of the stable complex. Hercules reaches it, covered in mud and river water, and begins the process again. Another channel. More boulders moved, more earth shifted. His strength is beyond mortal limits, granted by his divine heritage, but even he feels the strain. His breathing comes hard, his vision narrows, but the sun is still climbing toward noon and he has time. The second channel is completed faster than the first. Hercules has learned the technique, understands the angle and depth needed. When he breaks through the final barrier, the Peneus joins the effort. Now 2 rivers pour through the stable complex, crossing and merging, creating a flood that washes through every building, every pen, every yard where filth has accumulated. The crowds on the hills stand in amazement. The stables are disappearing beneath a surging torrent of water. The filth is being carried away, swept down the valley and out toward the distant sea. What seemed impossible is happening before their eyes. Hercules runs through the complex, directing the water with temporary dams of stone and earth. He breaks down walls where the water needs to flow. He opens gates. He ensures that every corner is reached, every surface scoured. The water does the work, but Hercules guides it, controls it, makes certain that nothing is missed. The sun reaches its peak and begins its descent. The water continues to rush and flow. The brown torrent gradually runs clearer. The stones of the stable floors begin to appear clean and gray, untouched by filth for the first time in 3 decades. The walls shine with moisture. The wooden beams drip but stand solid, revealed to be in better condition than anyone had thought. By mid-afternoon, Hercules begins the final task. He must return the rivers to their original courses. He moves back upstream to the channels he has dug and begins to dam them. He fills them with boulders, with earth, with fallen trees, forcing the water back to its ancient path. The Alpheus resists, trying to continue down this new, easy route, but Hercules is stronger. He seals the channel. The river accepts its old course and flows on. The Peneus receives the same treatment. More boulders, more earth. The channel is closed. The water returns to where it has always run, and in the stable complex below, the flood begins to recede. The water drains away down the valley, leaving behind clean stone, clean wood, clean earth. Hercules walks through the stables as the last of the water runs off. His feet splash through puddles, but beneath them is stone swept clean. He inspects every building, every pen, every yard. The stench is gone, replaced by the fresh smell of river water and wet stone. 30 years of filth have been erased in a single day. The sun is 3 hours from setting when Hercules walks back up the hill to the palace of King Augeas. The king is waiting, his face pale. He has watched from his high windows. He has seen the impossible made real. Phyleus, his son, stands beside him, and there is something like awe in the young man's eyes. Hercules stops before them. His body is caked with mud and sweat. His hands are torn and bleeding, but his voice is steady. "The stables are clean," he says. "I have fulfilled my task. I will take my payment now, 1/10 of your herds as we agreed." Augeas stares at him. The king's mind is racing. 1/10 of his herds is a fortune. the greatest fortune he would ever part with. And yes, the stables are clean, but surely there must be a way to avoid this payment. He licks his lips. He gestures vaguely. You diverted rivers, Augean says. You did not clean the stables yourself. You used the water. That is not what was agreed. Hercules looks at him steadily. We agreed I would clean the stables in one day. I have done so. We did not specify the method. The king shakes his head. He is grasping now, searching for any excuse. And besides, he says, you were sent here by Eurystheus. This was a labor you were commanded to perform. You cannot accept payment for a task you were already ordered to complete. That would void the labor itself. The truth of this strikes Hercules like a blow. He had not considered it. If he accepts payment, Eurystheus could claim the labor does not count, that it was done for profit rather than atonement. He would have to do another in its place. The thought fills him with a cold anger. But it is Phyleus who steps forward. Father, he says, you are wrong. You made an agreement. Hercules has fulfilled his part. You must honor yours or you dishonor yourself in our house. Augean turns to his son, his face darkening. Be silent, he says. This is not your concern. But Phyleus does not back down. I witness the oath, he says. I will testify to it. Hercules has done what no man thought possible. He deserves his payment. The argument grows heated. Hercules stands silent, watching. He sees the character of both men clearly now. Augean, wealthy and proud, unwilling to part with his riches even when honor demands it. Phyleus, young and idealistic, unwilling to watch his father become a liar and a cheat. In the end, Augean makes his decision. He will not pay. He dismisses Hercules, ordering him from the palace. And when Phyleus continues to protest, continues to insist his father is wrong, Augean exiles his own son. Leave my house, the king shouts. If you love this laborer more than your own father, then go with him. Hercules and Phyleus walk from the palace together. Behind them, Augean stands alone in his courtyard, surrounded by his wealth, diminished by his choice. The two men walk in silence for a time. Around them, the people of Ili's whisper and point. The story is already spreading. The hero who cleaned the impossible stables. The king who broke his word. The son who chose honor over inheritance. Finally, Hercules speaks. You did not have to do that, he says. You have given up everything for a matter of principle. Phyleus shakes his head. I gave up nothing that was worth keeping, he says. My father chose gold over honor. I would rather be poor and honest than wealthy and false. They part ways at the border of Ili's. Phyleus will make his own way in the world, Hercules knows. The young man has strength of a different kind and it will serve him well. As for the payment, Hercules lets it go. He does not need cattle. He needs only to complete his labors, to atone, to find peace at the end of this long road. He returns to Mycenae, to Eurystheus, and reports that the fifth labor is complete. The stables of Augean are clean, swept by the power of rivers. 30 years of filth removed in a single day. Eurystheus listens from inside his bronze jar. When Hercules finishes, there is a long silence. Then the king's voice emerges, thin and calculating. You accepted payment from Augean, did you not? You made a bargain. Therefore, this labor does not count. You performed it for profit, not as an act of service. You will have to complete another in its place. Hercules says nothing. He had known this would be Eurystheus's response. It does not matter that he never received the payment. It does not matter that he was cheated. The king has decided, and so the fifth labor is erased, deemed invalid. Later, when the 12 labors are recounted, some will count the stables as the fifth, while others will skip over it, calling it the labor that was not. But those who witnessed it, who saw Hercules move rivers, who watched the impossible made real, they will always remember. They will tell their children and their children's children. They will speak of the day when a hero reshaped the land itself, when strength and intelligence combined to achieve what no amount of mere labor could accomplish. And they will remember Phyleus too, the son who chose truth over treasure. As for Hercules, he rests that night in the hills above Mycenae, looking up at the stars. 5 labors completed, though only 4 will count. 7 more to come, perhaps 8 now. The road is long. but he has learned something from this task. Strength alone is not always the answer. Sometimes the mind must lead, must find the path that strength can follow. The rivers did what his hands could not. There is wisdom in that. He closes his eyes. The night is warm and still. Somewhere far away, the Alpheus and the Peneus flow on in their ancient courses as if they had never been disturbed, as if they had never been made to wash away the accumulated decay of decades. But the stables remain clean. That much is real. That much cannot be taken back. Tomorrow he will wait for the next labor, but tonight he has earned his rest. And so we leave Hercules there beneath the stars, while the myth of his deeds grows and spreads across Greece. The hero and the stables, the impossible task, the clever solution, the treachery of a king and the honor of his son. All of it true, all of it remembered, all of it part of the long story of the man who would become the greatest hero the world has ever known. Rest now. Let the sound of ancient rivers carry you to sleep. The story will continue, but for now there is only peace, only the quiet night, only the eternal stars. Until we meet again, may your dreams be calm and your rest be deep. Good night.